Sorry I'm late. I didn't want to be here. Well, that was a movie. Hello and welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon, and today I'm giving my first thoughts on Pieces of a Woman, which was starring Vanessa Kirby and Shia LaBeouf. And I'm just gonna give a spoiler warning now. I know a lot of these times I go through a spoiler-free review and then get into the spoilers about halfway through the video. I'm just gonna get into spoilers right away with this, but if you want an opinion, watch at your discretion. I'll put it that way. This movie is a hard watch, and it may not be worth it. It may not live up to the payoff that you're hoping for. This movie had some very artistically minded goals, and some of them were fulfilled beautifully. This movie starts with a 22-minute long opening shot, and it is amazing. There's technical beauty in it. Honestly, it took me probably about 10 minutes before I even realized that it was just one shot, because I wasn't paying attention to that. I was paying attention to everything that was happening, because oftentimes with these single shots, it is done purely for a gimmick. It's done in a gimmicky way, so you notice it right away and you go, oh, okay, they're doing that. They're going for the artsy approach, and so that's all you can pay attention to. But like I just said, I didn't even notice it right away. It seemed to be happening naturally, and the reason that they did that was because they wanted to keep you in the moment. They didn't want to give you any breathing room. They didn't want to give you any second to get away, and man, did it work. Because honestly, when I first started this movie a few weeks ago, I got 5 minutes in and said I can't do this right now and turned it off, and had to come back later. And why is that? In case you don't know what the plot of this movie is, it follows a woman as she goes through childbirth, and then subsequently her child dying, and then over the next year dealing with that, the traumas of that, the after effects of it, and dealing with the people in her life around her that have different effects on her life, because that always does happen. Anytime you go through something, everybody's got an opinion, everybody thinks that they know what's best, and everybody's trying to help you, at least in their mind. Sometimes it doesn't actually turn out that way. Sometimes it's more of them just trying to help themselves. And that's what this movie was about. So it's not an easy watch movie. It's an emotional journey, if you will. And I like movies like that. And I knew what this movie was before I started watching it. It's not like I was taken by surprise, but it still was a hard watch. It was something that I was only interested in, I'll admit, initially because, well, two things. Shia LaBeouf was in it, and I'm a sucker for Shia LaBeouf. If he's in a movie that's got good reviews, I'll see it. And two, it had good reviews. It was doing really well at the film festivals and all of that, and so I was anticipating its Netflix release. And then it came out, and then I put off watching it for a while because I knew this would be tough. And so now I've seen it, so what do I think? I think the first half hour of this movie is brilliant. The first half hour of this movie is amazing. I think the rest of it isn't bad. It struggles to keep going. And I understand why. I've read some reviews that didn't think the next hour and a half was necessary at all and was pointless. And I wouldn't go that far. I think the majority of this movie was trying to show you what it's like recovering from a traumatic experience and what that situation's like. So no, I don't think that the rest of this movie was pointless. That hour and a half was the point of the movie, and I think it did a really good job of showing multiple different facets of that, because I think oftentimes we all know and think about that trauma brings those people and that went through the traumatic experience closer together, and that is an option. That does happen a lot. A lot of people are trauma bonded or whatever. But the other option is that the people that you go through a traumatic experience with, you loathe, because every time you see them, every time you think of them, you just think of a traumatic experience again. And so that's the scenario that plays out, is this woman, played by Vanessa Kirby, and her husband, played by Shia LaBeouf, really just grow detached from each other. And they become pretty bad people in the process, too. They lie to each other, they cheat on each other, they don't trust each other, they don't tell each other the truth, they don't communicate, and so they separate eventually. By the end of the movie, they're separated. And it's hard to watch because I think anytime you go through a movie like this or an experience like this, you're hoping for the best outcome. You're watching this movie wanting them to figure everything out. But this movie wasn't trying to sugarcoat anything. It wasn't trying to give you an easy answer. It was trying to show you the reality of the situation, which is ugly, it's painful, and it's hard. And so there's also no definite right answer to a lot of it. Like, a lot of the arguments they have is Shia LaBeouf's character, the husband, and the main character, the woman, Vanessa Kirby's mother, both want to take the midwife that kind of failed at her job. She wasn't perfect, but she wasn't negligent either. She was somewhere in the middle. They want to take her to court. They want to sue her. And they have different reasons. The mother wants, I don't know, respect or money or something. Shia LaBeouf's character just wants some sort of revenge. He just wants some sort of answer because that's his way of finding finality, finding any sort of closure in the situation, just to find some closure. Where even though he knows that suing this woman and making her life worse won't help him, in the end, he just wants something to hold on to. And Vanessa Kirby's character obviously disagrees and doesn't want anything to do with that. She says, what's the point? But she also wants to dedicate the body of their child to science, for research, just to do some good with it. But Shia LaBeouf's character does not. He said, I want her buried. I don't want her taken away from me. And Vanessa Kirby doesn't consult with him and just goes and does everything she wants anyway because it's her choice, according to her. And so it's just frustrating because a lot of the stuff in this movie could have been solved if the characters communicated and had a desire to work things out together, and if they tried to work together on this. You get mad at every character in this movie at least once, and deservedly so, but you also understand where each and every character is coming from. And so it's a hard movie to watch because it is, it's a series of unfortunate events where it's heartbreaking and you just want a good answer and there isn't one. It kind of brings you back to what was the point of the movie. And the point of the movie was to show you a situation. It's not trying to say a message. It's not trying to preach. It's not trying to give you any answers. It's just showing you the reality of the situation. It's a lot like Marriage Story. And the way that ending pissed off a lot of people, including myself, it was very frustrating. You wanted closure. You wanted an answer. This is similar in that way, is that there is no closure, there is no answer, but at least you can see that the characters have healed. At least Vanessa Kirby's character has. You don't actually get to see the finish of Shia LaBeouf's arc because he's not the main character, he's a side character. So you don't get to see the finish of his arc, and you hope he does well, but you have no indication of that. So the movie was okay. Like I said, that first half hour was phenomenal. There was some really good writing there. I also will say there was some poor writing and poor editing and poor directing throughout the rest of the movie. Not the entire time, but at times where the actors were giving really good performances, and you could tell that. But sometimes it felt like the director or the editor or whoever was in charge of making these decisions went, this person had a really good moment in this take, but I liked this take overall better. And then they spliced them together. And like there's a couple of moments where like Shia LaBeouf went from one mood of depressed to exploding to back to being the other mood. And it's like he wasn't wrong in either performance, but I felt like the editing was wrong in putting those two moments together. It didn't feel like it flowed naturally. So I blame the editing and the directing more than the acting because the acting seemed fine. It is a shame because this movie had really high hopes, really high expectations, at least on my part, and could have been great and ended up being just okay to maybe pretty good. I'm sitting right now at like a 6 or a 6.5. I thought it was only okay. This kind of movie is hard to watch and has little payoff. And so if you want to watch it, it has to be a great movie. It has to execute perfectly for it to be worth it. And this wasn't. So I kind of just felt lackluster. I kind of felt empty after the fact. So I'm honestly not recommending this movie, even though I gave it a semi-positive rating. This is for a very very niche audience, because I don't think many people will enjoy watching this movie, especially if you're remotely scared of the birthing process anyway, or if you are about to, if you're pregnant, or if you're going to give birth anytime soon. Don't watch this movie because it's gonna traumatize you in a way. It's not a fun movie. So yeah, I can't recommend it. I can't say it's bad either, but I don't know how many people are actually going to enjoy it, because as much as I enjoyed aspects of it, like the acting and some of the writing, I couldn't buy in completely, and I definitely don't want to watch it ever again. So that's my thought. I know that's kind of a depressing review to have, but it was a depressing movie. So that's what I thought. What did you guys think? If you saw it, let me know in the comments below what you guys thought. Also, don't forget to like, share, and if you're new here, subscribe. Thanks, guys.